Hi everybody, it's Joe Cioffi here on the Joe and Joe Show. I know that you have been without the Joe and Joe Show for 4 nights, so you must be just dying of meteorological thirst. And therefore, Addison Green and Jason Schaefer are the first two to jump on board tonight. Addison, you have to go to bed because you have to do Dayside tomorrow right here on Fios 1 News. I am, by the way, Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey. And Joe Rao, who will be in shortly, is Fios 1 News Hudson Valley. I took a few days off. I did a little fishing. I went up into northern Connecticut near the town of Riverton, which is north of Waterbury. So if you take Route 84 and you then go north on Route 8 and take Route 8 into Litchfield County and just take it till it ends, which is not really very far, you can fish the Farmington River, and it is really beautiful up there. I have to say, adventuring out the last couple of days and going upriver a little bit, I was really just astounded by the beautiful scenery, the natural landscape. The river is just, just sparkling clean. Sadly, I didn't catch any fish, although my buddy Howie did catch 3 browns. Phil didn't catch any fish. Buzz, meteorologist Phil Bazanka, as I call him, the North and South Shore correspondent. Neither did John Sears, but there's always next time, and hopefully that will come soon enough. And let's see.
Sorry about that.
Angry Ben, you need to behave yourself, okay? You did not catch a 600-pound thresher in that river. So make that clear. Mark Rotan, good to see you here too. And a good time was definitely had by all. Laureo has joined us. Notice we are both, we're blue today.
Yeah.
You got I got the new blue, the really dark blue.
I got to tell you, I was watching you.
And red tie.
I was watching you from Monday morning, complaining about the fact that you were not able to get any fish, that the borders were stocked, supposedly.
They were.
And I'm sitting there getting ready to go to work, and I'm saying to myself, Joe, a bad day fishing beats a good day at the office.
Well, it's true. No, I have to tell you, I don't measure, whenever I go fishing, I have a great time, no matter if I catch nothing or if I catch. It would have been great to catch some fish, but I was really happy because my friend Howie, he's hilarious. It's like watching a 10-year-old boy out there. We're all exhausted after fishing since 6 o'clock in the morning, so we're kind of resting up at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's out in the river. It's past sunset. And we're all screaming, Howie, you're not allowed to fish after sunset. You need to come out. One more cast! One more cast! He was hilarious. I just loved watching him have a great time. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. I got color, I got a little sunburn, which is nice. And the weather was perfect.
You picked them. You picked about as nice a stretch of weather for you.
I have had, over the years, I have to tell you, I have had such a streak of luck when it's come to planning vacations. Talk about, really stretching it. 2 weeks in the Outer Banks in North Carolina in the month of August. Okay? 2 weeks. We had 13 consecutive days of sunshine.
Wow.
Okay? Except on the 13th day, the clouds, high clouds started rolling in ahead of Tropical Storm Gustav, which came over the Outer Banks that night.
Right.
And it was not a hurricane, but it was a pretty strong tropical storm. I think the top winds were like 65 or 70 miles an hour, and they were every bit of that during the overnight.
No.
My whole family's in a state of panic. I just went to sleep. I woke up the next day, but no one gets my sense of humor. You do. So we were walking on the shore the next day, and it's cloudy and turbulent. You got all this white foam, and we're passing people, and it was our last day before we had to leave, and I quipped, they made a general comment about the weather, and I said, I know, it's been awful here. We've been here for 2 weeks, 13 days of miserable sunshine. The weather finally got good, and we have to go home. And it was the an Addams Family kind of remark, and they looked at me like I had 10 heads. You just don't understand me, okay? This is how I see the world. So we're coming to the end of what has been a cold month. I want to just make this point. I was looking at some of the Central Park statistics. I haven't looked at it as of today, but back before I went on vacation, this April was running for New York City at least. It was the 12th coldest April. Okay, I know everybody's making this huge deal over the fact that it's been a cold month, and it has. But we've had actually 11 colder Aprils than this.
Right.
And I just want to put it into perspective, because if this is, a lot of people are turning this into some sort of natural or unnatural Armageddon atmosphere, that all of a sudden, that summer is never going to come, and this is the beginning of the end because the sun is fading away with this grand solar minimum stuff, and it's like, stop it already.
I've been up in Putnam Valley now for 60. This is my 16th spring, and it's very strange because I'm surrounded on 3 sides by trees that are anywhere from 40 to 60 feet high, and not a single one of them has budded yet.
Well, up in Connecticut where I was, same thing. Now, see, for me on Long Island where I am, that's not unusual to go into the first part of May and see nothing on the trees, because the sea breeze comes in so often sometimes in the spring that we could have days where everybody else is in the 60s and 70s, and we're not even out of the 40s.
Right.
Plus, we have to deal with low clouds and fog, so it's always delayed where I am, and so it's not that unusual for me. But for you, and even here down in southern parts of Westchester County and in the Bronx, there's still a lot of bare. Stuff is starting to green up now, but it's behind. No question, it's behind.
Well, we may see an explosion coming our way late next week with the unusual push of not mild, downright warm. I think by next Thursday, if we haven't hit 80 degrees by Wednesday of next week, Thursday certainly will be a day. I think that's going to be the warmest of the lot.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets well up into the 80s on one of those days.
Well, parts of New Jersey, I can see that happen.
Not impossible.
Yeah.
So we've got another good stretch of weather to look forward to, but we've got work to do in the meantime.
Right.
Angry Ben is being evil.
David Schwartz says, so foggy at Yankee Stadium right now, the fielders are having problems tracking pop-ups and fly balls. That kind of reminds me of a game they had at Shea Stadium. This might be like 30-some-odd years ago. The game was actually called because of fog, because the fog was that thick. It was a night game. I think Joe Torre was the manager of the Mets at that time. I just saw, in fact, 15 minutes ago, when we flicked on the game, it's foggy. You could tell it's foggy there, but it's not as thick a fog as what I just alluded to, back at Shea.
Right. I want to say, by the way, just very quickly, Raymond Higbee, who's occasionally on here and watches our show on a regular basis, he is not well. He's in Good Samaritan Hospital. He's had a stroke, and he's recovering. And from what I understand, everything is good. But I just want to wish him well, and we both of us wish you well and speedy recovery. Bonnie Buckley is on. Nice to see you here. Say hi to Reverend Terrence. Just trying to get a few hellos here. Okay, I think we got everybody. Oh,
Addison Green.
He's still up. He should be asleep.
I just tweeted out a foggy view of the Throg's Neck. I hope they expand the ditch.
You should not be out taking pictures of fogged-in bridges, Addison. You need to go to sleep now. By the way, I just wanted to check with respect to the dense fog advisories. They're actually up for the coastal waters, and they're not up for the land areas. They have a special weather statement for the Weather Service. Bottom line is the visibilities are down under a quarter of a mile in a lot of spots. So that's going to make driving home just so much fun.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we going with all this, Mr. Rao?
I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a nice break in the gloom. I'm looking at. I like to look at the NAM FOOS, the first level, the R1 level, and usually my criteria is that when it gets below 80%, a night like tonight with the dense fog and the low cloud cover, once we get below 80%, then everything starts to break up. And I think it's 82% at 8 o'clock in the morning at LaGuardia. So I'm banking on 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, the skies rapidly becoming clear and bright and sunny, and it will be a gorgeous day. And depending upon how much sun all of you see, it could be as high as perhaps 70 degrees, especially in inland locations.
Oh, wouldn't be a shocker. Pretty complex surface map tonight because you've got 3 systems in play here. The one in the east that we're getting right now, low pressure is just finding its way northward, but albeit slowly. And then you got a little bit of a break to the west, and then you got the second system that's in the middle and lower Mississippi Valley and in through northeastern Texas. So that's coming up for Friday, and then that goes out. And then you've got this one up moving into the northern plains, the third one, and that's for Saturday late in the day that we get a cold front. Behind that, we get a quick shot of chilly air.
And I tell you, it may be quick, but it is certainly going to be concentrated. Thickness values, excuse me, drop to 530. And for those of you who are not aware of what that is, it's simply a measurement in the upper levels of the atmosphere. When we get into the winter months, we think that anything below 540 thickness usually loans itself to snow or frozen precipitation. So to talk about 530 thickness this late in the season, I'm just so happy that we don't have any kind of precipitation to deal with on Sunday. Although I did say to you in jest that it would be interesting if we had some sort of buildup of convective cloud cover in the afternoon on Sunday. The temperatures as chilly as they probably will be,
right?
And suddenly have a little burst of heavy wet flurry activity or something.
Oh, now be nice now. You're going to get all the snow lovers.
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Going crazy.
But the fact is, it's short-lived. It won't last much beyond Sunday. But while we're in it, it's going to be really quite chilly for this time of the year. We move into that. And the other thing I was mentioning to you and asking your opinion on is that as this cold front comes in later on Saturday, if we could have enough sunshine and warm the atmosphere just enough, that cold front possibly could set off not just a few showers, but maybe this is the time of the year, April, we sometimes see these quick showers or brief low-top thunderstorms that pop up that drop like pea-sized hail.
It wouldn't surprise me. When we look at the upper air feature, when I roll it along, that's a pretty cold feature along. And you can see, by the way, the troughs here, they're all pretty distinct. There's just a bunch of them running around.
It almost looks like a pawn shop.
Yes. It's not. None of these are going to phase. But as a result, the systems none of them get really strong. But as far as Saturday is concerned, you can see this big pool of cold air aloft. That's a pretty strong upper low that comes down.
I got to point something out. Before we had our little sabbatical here the last 4 days, I think the last time was on Friday, and we were looking at this last Friday.
Right.
The models were showing this last Friday, and it's amazing. Sometimes the models can be accurate of so far out, and
every so often they do hit on something, and then they just kind of zero in very early, and
there it is.
And the good news is that because everything in the atmosphere is moving along, this thing gets kicked out in a hurry, and it goes away, and then this big ridge builds in the east, and this is for next week, and this is why we're going to see this warm up. Our air is going to be coming from the southern plains straight northeastward, big ridge right along the east coast, and that air, by the way, is going to be on the dry side too. It doesn't look, we're not into the summer humidity stuff yet.
Right.
So the air is going to be dry. So you're going to have temperatures in the 80s with the humidity levels way down.
Okay.
Which is that's fire issue if we get to that point.
I'm just going to say red flag time. It looks like mid and late week.
Could be.
Although it looks like the next cold front will be arriving probably by Friday, and that could very well cut the temperatures down again for the latter part, the end of next week.
Right. It's the models are just trying to decide whether the front goes by or stalls to our north and then has to wait for some energy to come around but that's next week, and we're not even worried about that. We can look at the temperatures, by the way. I think that will be that'll get everybody thrilled with the warmer weather that's coming back. It was a nice 4-day stretch of sunshine that we just had, of course, and in some places it was 5.
Yeah.
and
we paid the fiddler today for 4 days of great.
But you know what? Even in the best of Aprils are, around here are always problematic.
Right.
So here's our warm up for tomorrow. I mean, we should get well up. This is only a flash at look at 2 p.m. So it's not the high of the day, but it's got temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Friday we've got rain issues, so that'll probably mean it'll be a struggle. Saturday we could go to 70, I think, ahead of that cold front.
Right. And again, it'll be interesting the next couple of days to see how the Saturday outlook pans out, because again, I think we warmed the temperatures, the atmosphere up enough out ahead of that next front, and we could find ourselves. And there's nothing on the no pun intended, nothing on the radar right now. The folks at the Storm Prediction Center are not alluding to any kind of severe weather. I wouldn't think there'd be severe weather, but what I think there might be is some very localized heavy shower activity. And I've remembered more than a few Aprils where all of a sudden the sky gets black and you get those hard, heavy showers and pea-sized hail.
Right. And you can see the temperature contrast, because in western PA and back through Ohio and Michigan, temperatures are in the 40s at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, while we'll probably be sitting up close to 70. And then when we go to Sunday, mostly 50s. And I'm thinking Sunday we may not get out of the 50s for highs. And in upstate New York, some places not even getting out of the 30s.
Wow.
That's cold. And here is
and Sunday night's going to be a cold
morning.
Night.
Yeah, a lot of 30s, even some 20s showing up.
If any of you out there,
way inland.
If any of you started, going ahead and planning things or whatever, you may rue that come Sunday night, because it could be a cold one. Has the growing season officially begun in our area?
Central and South Jersey, yes. I don't know if it started for us. If not, it's going to start any day now.
If it starts any day, let's say it starts tomorrow or Friday or whatever, they may be issuing frost advisories for Sunday night.
This is Monday. We'll be back into the 60s. We'll go to Tuesday, and Tuesday, looks like 70s just about everywhere.
May Day.
Correct. And then Wednesday will be the first day I think we're going to see 80s. It has 80s all the way up into New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Eastern Mass, New Jersey, and it might not be much. The sea breeze might be kept out for most of the day, so even coastal areas could see temperatures up around 80 or better before the sea breeze hits. And then Thursday,
Thursday's the day.
Thursday, I think, is the day. Yeah, widespread 80s just about everywhere. I would not at all be surprised if we see our first 90-degree reading pop up somewhere, and then the next cold front comes in with some leftover warm temperatures on Friday, and then we'll see what happens when we get there. But at least those days, starting from Sunday will be probably clouds and sun and maybe more instability clouds. So Monday through probably at least through Thursday, from the standpoint of the quality of day, should be pretty good with a fair amount of sunshine.
I'm wondering also about the status of the winds on Sunday. I'm not sure whether or not it's just going to be a very breezy day or just a flat-out windy day. But regardless, if we only get to the mid-50s on Sunday, count on the winds making it feel like it's in the 40s. So it's going to be it's going to be short-lived, very concentrated, but pretty darn cold for this late in the season.
Okay, so look, I got a couple of shameless self-promotions to do.
Okay.
So on, I got to remember. What were my shameless self-promotions?
May 2nd?
May 2nd, which is Wednesday, so a week from today, I will be at the Babylon Library in Babylon, New York, at 7 p.m., and we'll discuss, as I told the last group I spoke to just a week or so ago, I said, how do you like the winter so far? because of the way April's been. But we'll discuss, we'll look back a little bit at what we just went through, and we'll start looking ahead toward the summer and the fall and hurricane season and where we may or may not be going. So that's at the Babylon Library on Wednesday, May 2nd. And if you can't make that, on Monday, May 14th, I will be at the Smithtown Library in Smithtown, on Long Island at 7 o'clock in the evening, and tackling on the same subject matter or whatever else you folks like to talk about.
Okay. Wish I could go to one of these.
You have any shameless self promotions?
No, I don't.
No.
Well, if you're gonna, I don't have a talk at the Hayden Planetarium in Manhattan until late June, so that's a little early to start self-promoting that. But
now you got time.
I still have plenty of time.
We have lots of time. So, I was talking with Addison today. We got to do a group fishing trip at some point in the next couple of months.
Well, it better not be rough water. Well, it'd be on the shore, right?
No, we'll do river stuff. We'll go up. Maybe we'll go to. I had brought the subject up of maybe going to Katona to the Cross River Dam,
right?
Because there's some really good bass, big size bass, and big trout in that water, and it's free to fish.
Now you're more into this than I am. What is a full moon? Full moon is this weekend. If you were to go fishing this weekend, is that anything?
Well, you know what?
Check the Farmer's Almanac, folks.
Here's the thing. Here's the way I look at it. I've been told. There's all sorts of different things. You have to go out. You have to be out before sunrise to catch. The best catching is before sunrise. Then some people say, then it's it's the sunset. Then there's the full moon or the new moon, before that or afterwards, or approaching cold front or after. The bottom line is, when fish feel like biting, they bite.
When they're hungry.
Exactly. So the only times I do notice it's that oftentimes when there is a storm of size approaching in terms of big pressure changes, it gets them to move around a little bit, and sometimes you can get some pretty interesting action. I had one situation last June, I think it was. I went out at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I went to South Haven Park, which is really beautiful fishing area in Suffolk County. So plus I went before 8 o'clock, so I didn't have to pay. So, but don't tell anybody that. So there were thunderstorms that were developing. And I looked at the radar in the morning and said, well, maybe they'll miss or go north of me. Sure enough, they came right on top of where I was. But the thing is, they really got the fish crazy. So it's pouring rain. I am cast after cast. I'm getting big bass. I'm pulling out big bass out of the water. I must have pulled out 7 in a span of about 20 minutes. Okay. But I'm standing there in a thunderstorm, holding a pole,
totally soaked.
Totally soaked. And I vowed that as much as it was great, I caught all those fish. I ain't doing that again.
Were you wearing one of those hats?
I had to peel my clothes off.
Yeah, I could imagine.
It was gross. So it's like, I'm too old for this stuff. I'm not a hat guy either, because I have an oversized head, so I have to have hats custom made in order to fit.
The hooks in the hat and whatever.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not. The fishing hat thing, I'm not big on. I got my little, my bag, and I got my case and my 3 or 4 different fishing poles.
Yeah. That's the one thing also, to bring my favorite subject, Perry Mason, up again. They just recycled back to the very beginning, the very first episodes in 1957.
Isn't it true?
But one of the things I noticed is that Perry wears a fedora a lot. And
it does.
And you don't see many men wear fedoras anymore.
Well, it was very big. Guys in the 50s, they up until I think it was President Kennedy that killed the hat business,
right?
Because he
didn't wear a top hat at the
He didn't wear a top hat as the inauguration, so that killed.
But you see hats. In the 1950s with
guys always wore hats.
George Reeves, for example, in Superman, when he played Clark Kent, he was always wearing that fedora.
Yeah.
All right, Lois.
Yeah. All right, listen, let's call it a night. So let's see. Joe and I will be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel for the Joe and Joe Show. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's going on. Nope. Brian Fitzgerald and Jeff Banson are back together again in the morning, so you can catch him here on Fios One News.
And if Addison Green stops clicking his camera and taking pictures of the Throgsneck Bridge in the fog, he should be back tomorrow at the midday hour along with Brittany Bora, and then we'll come strolling in around 2 o'clock.
Right, and change everybody's forecast. Etc. Which is what we always do. All right, only kidding. Have a great rest of your evening, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.